Yeah. Parashat Netzavim. The Parashat Netzavim is the parasha which gives you chizuk after Ki Tavo. Ki Tavo, we got the Tochacha, we got the Arur. Comes this parasha, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, don't worry about it. Atem Netzavim Hayom. Today, this very day, what we went through already. Thrown out of Syria, thrown out of Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Egypt, all over. We've been thrown out, tossed, chased, went through a Holocaust. And where are we now? Nitzavim hayom kulchem b'fnei Hashem Akechem. B'fnei Hashem Akechem. Unbelievable. So the Torah tells you like this. It means you're standing firm. The Torah says like this, Ki ha-mitzvah zot, Tayag mitzvot. You should know the mitzvah that I commanded you, it's not something that you can't handle. You can handle it. Ki korov hadavar ma'od, elech hadavar. What about Shemaim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you the ability to do it. If He commanded you to do it, then He gives you the ability to do it. That's a fact. Whoever He commands to do something gives you the ability to do it. B'ficha u'vilvavcha la'asoto. With your mouth and with your heart, you could do it. So the question is, doing, you don't do with your mouth.
You pray.
But it's not called doing. Doing is an act. Physical. And with your heart, you also don't do. So how could the Torah say, B'ficha u'vilvavcha la'asoto? What's the difference between a good salesman and a bad salesman? The difference is like this. A good salesman can take something that's really not, and he builds it up, and he makes it into something, and wow, and people run after it. What is it? Nothing with nothing. That's a good salesman. He's able to take an item that really isn't so important that people need it. And he can, no, he's not lying. It's up to your bechira. He creates the thing. He makes it into something that you feel touchy. You need it.
Right, for sure.
That's the real good salesman. Yeah. And then there's that terrible salesman where you give him a real great item and he botches it up. Botches it up. He doesn't present it proper. He doesn't bring it out with the right way. That's it. We are, in Torah, we're also sochrim, we're in business. Two people get into a taxi. Both of them pay the taxi driver after leaving the taxi. Yet one gets Gan Eden and one doesn't. Again, you had a case, two people go into a taxi, both give the taxi driver after he...
Together, they're on a separate.
Two separate taxis.
Both give it to the taxi driver, what, the money?
The money that
The way he gave it to.
No, both give it the same way. David! The difference is, one thinks when he gives the money, when he gives the money, he thinks, I'm being mekayem the mitzvah of b'yomot titen scharo. He puts in heart and he puts in piv. Now it becomes a mitzvah. And the other one pays the taxi driver.
Where's the piv part now?
Amen. The picha is, I'll give you another example, okay? Another example where the picha does it. The picha u'bevavcha asoto. It can be the same thing. Two. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Guy wakes up in the morning and, okay, let's take the example right now. Someone bought himself a good chocolate shake, right? He made a bracha Beautiful.
Coffee.
Shake. But not like this. If he's eating it because he wants to enjoy the coffee shake, okay.
Right.
Could be he'll get loose schar omaba for it also. Because he's enjoying omazeh. But if he takes it with intention that right after the shir he's going to write out a check for Rebbe Lezer Ginsburg's yeshiva, and he needs the koach to be able to do that. He needs the koach. So he's taking the coffee drink to have the koach to be able to do it. And he says, I'm doing it because I want to do the mitzvah. He turned into mitzvah. Yeah. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta says that any enjoyment that you get from this world takes off from Yom Haba. But if you turn it into, if you're a good businessman, how are you a good businessman? You turn it into a mitzvah. How do you turn it into mitzvah? I'm drinking it to have koach to be able to serve Hashem.
So if somebody is not enjoying here in Olam Hazeh, he will enjoy more in Olam Haba.
He can enjoy it now once he makes that thought that I'm drinking the coffee drink in order to have koach, that turns it into every drink that he drinks into mitzvah.
So basically, you're saying
So
taking
that's the word.
situation.
So listen, beficha v'vavcha, with your mouth and with your heart, you can make that into a mitzvah. That's
you're saying take
Rasot.
ordinary situation,
Exactly.
think about it in a certain way, and flip it into a mitzvah.
Exactly.
It's like going to a meeting, a business meeting. You want to sell somebody, you want to go sell him. You say, I'm going into this meeting because I need to make a parnasah so that I can support
My family.
organizations, obviously my family and other organizations.
Yeah,
It turns
that's
into
what
I just
David
serve
does.
Hashem.
That's what David
That's
does.
it.
You know what missed that? What did you say?
That's what David does.
My whole life.
If you make me the
But every time you have when you drink that coffee drink, you should also think that way.
I think when I make the coffee, I make the barakah just to elevate my alam haba.
Okay, that's good also. That's beficha v'vavcha. Let me tell you a story. Let me see let me see. Okay, let me see how you could handle it. I'm giving you an example to turn this into a mitzvah. You ready? Guy takes a taxi. This is a true story. One of the big tzaddikim, Remarkable Parkmansky, he took a taxi. He had to take a taxi, and then he finds out he has no money. What does he do now?
Rely on Hashem that someone else is going to come and pay.
But he's in the taxi. He's getting out of the taxi.
Give him the fuel, give him the divrei Torah, and that's it. Pay for that.
He says to the taxi driver, what?
Yeah, rabbi is doing his story.
The taxi driver, he says to the taxi driver, listen, do you want to be Mekayim in mitzvah? Yeah. Lend me, it was an $8.60 a fare. Lend me $8.60. No problem. Here it is. I'm borrowing this money, you Mekayim. And now I'm going to be Mekayim, b'yom titin scharo. Here I'm paying for the taxi driver. I owe you $8.60. But the meanwhile, you were Mekayim mitzvah and I was Mekayim mitzvah.
This is the taxi driver that you're talking to.
He's right. The big Talmid Chacham says to the taxi driver, he was a Yid,
Right.
says, you want to be Mekayim mitzvah? I said, why not? Of course. Lend me $8.60.
We don't have a lot of Jewish taxi drivers.
Okay, I'm just telling the story.
Right.
Now, listen to this one. True story. The Belzer Rebbe, the old Belzer Rebbe, was walking out of his room to go daven mincha. He noticed on the floor that there's a bull, there's a stamp. He picks up the stamp. He asks the gabbai, is this stamp can be used? Was it used already? He said, no, it's a perfect stamp. Someone seems to have lost the stamp. Goes to the Bet Midrash, he goes on to the bima, and he's like this, Rabotai, did anyone lose a stamp? And the guy coming before says, I did. He says, 1 second. He takes off his gartel. They was going to daven mincha. He goes over to the water, washes his hands, puts back his gartel. Hineni muchon u'mezumen u'kayim ha'mitzvah shel hashavat aveda. Here's your stamp.
Did you ask him to describe it?
He asked him. He asked for Simon. 100%. He took off his gartel, washed his hands again. See, we take these things like, we're losing wealth. It's just going through our fingers. We could grab.
Free
It's
food.
unbelievable. Another story happened. Someone lost his. It's a story, but it's a true story. The guy lost his garter. Someone picked it up. So he said, "Did anyone lose his garter?" So the guy said, "I did." So he was ready to throw it to him. No. His Rebbe said, "Don't throw it. Go ahead, wash your hands, and say, because by a mitzvah, it's a chashuv to wash your hands before you do a mitzvah.
Every mitzvah?
If you could. כי קרוב אליך דבר מאוד, it's karov. For instance, let me ask you, when you go to be Mekayem Kibbud Av, do you think when you walk into your father, Hinei Mucham Zum Mekayem is a Kibbud Av? You do?
Not every time.
Every time you should think that way.
They will.
That he's going to do the mitzvah of Kibbud Av, giving his father honor. Or he's going to do his visiting his father, he has to visit his father. It's a different thing. You're going home and you're going to sit and eat with your wife. One big Talmid Chacham who was a big matmid. So just before he went home, he used to look at the newspaper to know the news. So when he comes home, he should be able to have what to talk with his wife. Not just sit by the table and eat. But to have whatever conversation. He's learning the whole time what his conversation. He used to take a look at the Sefer to get the newspaper to get some news and then have it discussed. He should have what to discuss with them. When you sit down by a table with your wife, make sure you talk and have something to tell her. Bring her some news. This, that, this.
If you're not allowed to talk,
What?
Take the break.
When?
dinner, you're not supposed to talk.
Come on. You're not such a tzaddik. We're such tzaddikim, we don't talk.
You don't talk when you eat.
Come on.
Boring dinner.
Sometimes conversation and
So before he takes the bite.
Trump said you gotta speak to your wife, you gotta show that you care, you gotta show that you
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. A tarbeh sicha. Isn't that tarbeh sicha? Tarbeh sicha means that you just sit and talk hours. But you go to she, you have to go to she, go to learn. That's tarbeh sicha. These are small little things, but if you have head, then it's a different thing.
He's not the mashkiach where he won't eat in public.
Right. But you hear what I'm telling you? Turn him in. Don't be afraid. Say, I'm eating. You ready for burning for shot? You finish or you still want to eat? What?
Take it slow, maybe, you know?
You finish? You ready for burning? You finished? Get him a sitter to make a burning for shot. We want to answer him. Yeah, here's a sitter.
You drink it fast enough, though?
He did
You
it.
sip that shit.
David.
You don't sit nothing.
He doesn't sit
And
nothing.
then you lose your finger.
He likes to enjoy that.
If you see the way David looks, you know he doesn't sit. David is David. Okay. David Barnafoshes.
I'll say it first.
About pay, you want to say it? But you're on yeah.
I wanna finish my meal. I'm supposed to have a meal right now.
But you're in a different room.
I can have it here.
Yeah, you're not going to have it here.
Relax.
You know what? You want to have it here? Did you have it down? So pizza is on.
I'll have them in mind. You have me in mind? Marsh will have me.
Okay.
Yeah, but I learned about it.
Amen.
You see, I also learned with the rabbi, if you have the guy in mind, and you actually have him in mind, and he has him in mind to answer, it's just as good as saying it.
Right.
Of course.
Shemei Kona. So Rabotai, again next Monday, B'Shot HaMitzrachas is Rosh Hashanah. We should go to Rosh Hashanah with enthusiasm. Go to Rosh Hashanah knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us such a wealth. We can be Mekayem so many mitzvot throughout the day. It's unbelievable. Sitting in the office, saying hello to people, you Mekayem mitzvah. Yeah? Someone asked Rav Mills, what should I do before Rosh Hashanah? Learn to smile on everyone. Give everyone a good morning. Say hello to everyone. Make everyone feel good. When that's what you do, what happens? Bezat Hashem Yitbarach Shemo. You have mitzvot. You keep on having mitzvot. I told you the story Rav Mills said. Unbelievable story. Where's the story?
This is a good story.
Where's the story?
Here, this is a good story. Here, let's see.
Unbelievable. He said, gives him a shout. He says, the owner of the company goes to the CEO and says to him, how many workers do we have? He says, 130. He said, let me see, what are they doing, these 130 people? He says, he looks over the list, These 20, get rid of them. Who needs them? He said, this guy we need. Why? He's very weak on sales. What do you need him for? I'll tell you why. He always smiles on customers. And people feel comfortable coming in to the office because they're going to get the smile from this person. He's weak on sales, but he's good for
Morale.
Environment.
for morale. Right.
He keeps the whole company selling because they want to work with the guys.
Keep him. The CEO, the owner says, keep him.
Hollywood.
If we smile, so Abby says, keep us. He needs us in this world to smile at everyone. You hear?
They fire
Amen.
another-
Beracha, Rabbi, let's go.
Bracha. David, don't walk out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless us all with a healthy year.
Amen.
A year of tremendous briut.
Amen.
A year of seeing nachas from our wife and children.
Amen.
From our grandchildren, as
Amen.
a year of scharim, banim scharim.
Amen.
A year of panasa v'achava.
Amen.
Shefa, brocha for us, and l'chol klal Yisrael.
Zaka Baruch.